Hello, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. So, I have a short video about issues concerning cardiovascular and the lymphatic system. So this week discussion is going to base on a 40-year-old African American male, Devon Jones, with a long-standing history of uncontrolled hypertension. Both of his parents died from hypertension, and his mother also had type 2 diabetes. Mr. Jones is a police officer in a high-crime neighborhood. He stopped smoking 5 years ago when diagnosed with hypertension. He states that he drinks several beers every evening and does not pay much attention to his intake of sodium, fat, and carbohydrates. He does not exercise regularly, with the exception of required trainings for his job. His weight has increased by 20 pounds during the past year, and he reports some shortness of breath with activity, especially when climbing stairs. So this is his history that he presented. So for this patient, when you talk about explaining to Mr. Jones in a layman terms the pathophysiology of primary, secondary, and complicated hypertension, I would tell him about primary hypertension, that the etiology and the pathophysiology of this condition are completely understood. It is a complex multifactorial disorder that involves genetic and environmental factors, diet, lifestyle practices, and imbalance in the vasoactive substances, and dysfunction of arterial endothelium. For the secondary hypertension, it is an elevated blood pressure due to an unidentifiable underlying conditions. Detection of secondary hypertension is critical to reverse the source of pathological process and prevent hypertensive target organ damage. So basically, secondary hypertension is caused by some underlying disease process the patient already had, just like diabetes and stuff like that, like alcohol intake and some chronic disease process. For the complicated hypertension, I would say this is also called malignant hypertension. That's result from either the primary or secondary hypertension. And this is basically when the systolic blood pressure is greater than 180 and the diastolic blood pressure is greater than 120. So for Mr. Jones, the most clinical significant information related to hypertension in his history would be his age. Obviously, he's 40 years old, which is one of the critical risk factor. His race, being an African American, is one significant information. Genetics is also one, knowing fully well that his parents died from the disease is also a significant information for him to know. For the symptoms related to hypertension, I would say his blood pressure definitely would be over 140 and over 90. He is obese, I must say. So we could check him for bruits in the carotid arteries, neck distension, thyroid enlargement could be some of the symptoms as well, crackles and bronchospasm in the lungs, which we know this cause shortness of breath with activity. And we can also see some symptoms like absence of peripheral arterial pulsations, bruits and edema in the extremities. So one pathological effect of primary hypertension for him could be explaining to him about the influence of genetics and ethnicity, and as one of the causes of the primary hypertension. So genetics and ethics, ethnicity play big role in the development of the disease. So person with a family history like his are like 4 times more likely to suffer the hypertension than those with no family history of the condition. Also, studies have shown that genetic contribution to primary hypertension is complex, and multi-genes are likely involved. So mostly genetic involvement or genetic effects involve gene interactions and gene environmental interactions as well. So the directions for improved self-care for Mr. Jones to avoid complications are weight reduction to maintain normal body weight. Obviously, he explained he's gained 20 pounds over the past year. So weight reduction is a key for him. So he should try to maintain a body weight index, body mass index of between 18.5 to 24.9 kilogram per meter square. That's the recommended. Also consuming a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and low body fat products with a reduced content of saturated and total fat is also necessary. Also, it's important for him to reduce his sodium intake to no more than 2.4 grams per day, which is highly recommended. Also, he mentioned he doesn't exercise a lot, exception to his job training. So one of the ways for him to improve self-care is to engage in regular aerobic physical activities such as brisk walking, at least 30 minutes per day for most days in the week. Also, he says he drinks like every day, so limit consumption of alcohol intake is very important for him. Being a male, shouldn't drink more than 2 drinks per day. And also, smoking cessation is very key. He should quit smoking for him to have a better prognosis of his disease. So all these things put together are very essential for Mr. Jones to live a healthy and a long life. And I believe I've been able to communicate some key components regarding hypertension, the various type of hypertension, primary, secondary, and complicated, and some of its pathophysiologies as well, and also some ways to improve self-care to avoid complications. Thank you.